Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My guest today is Georges Awaad. He is 21 years old and he is a polyglot, meaning he speaks multiple languages. He speaks 19 languages, in fact. George speaks English, French, Mandarin, Japanese, Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, German, Russian, Hebrew, Romanian, Swedish, Georgian, Armenian, Cantonese, Korean, Esperanto, and Dutch. And it shouldn't surprise you, he is also a linguistics student at McGill University. George, I don't know if students in their 20s are still using this phrase anymore, but you are the man.
Oh, yeah, it's used by some people, and I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
So when did it all start, this fascination and I assume curiosity and passion for languages for you? And how did you start learning one language after another, or did you learn multiple languages at one time?
Oh man, I mean, it was a really long time ago that I started learning, that I got this passion, probably when I was like 9 or 10 years old, end of elementary school. Like I was having some events at school where people would use their languages together. They would speak in their languages, and I would listen to people around me speaking in their heritage languages that they speak with their families. And I got fascinated with the all the different sounds, all the different accents, and the way they spoke. It was like a secret code that I wanted to crack and understand what they meant. So then I went home and I told my parents, I'd like to like learn another language, like because I already knew like three-ish languages at the time. English and French, like many people in Montreal, and Arabic from my family. Um, but um, but I wanted to try more, and I also wanted to try to learn how to write in Arabic because I couldn't write at that time. So I just started to learn how to write. My grandparents helped me with this, and then my parents pointed me to some online resources. I started using my computer a bit more. I went to some websites and some YouTube videos that would teach languages, and a lot of times I became hooked with some of them, like especially one of my first loves was Mandarin Chinese, and it still is to this day one of my favorite languages.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just tried to find friends either from school or from other places that I knew, and I tried to like muster up my courage to ask them, hey, I would like to like have you as my friend so I can practice speaking your language. And at first I was a bit shy to ask, but I was surprised to see that the vast majority of the time people were very pleasantly surprised and were they were very happy to offer their help. So just with the help of those people and other resources, books and sites, I just went on and gradually acquired more over time until right now where I'm sitting with you here.
So that's terrific. So speaking of technology, I love this Google Translate, and I love how it's always improving year after year and becoming more easier to use and
Uh-huh.
adding a lot of different functionalities. On my LinkedIn, it says that I speak English, French, Mandarin, Russian, and Spanish. But really, I just speak English because I've tried. And because I love languages. My wife is Russian. I can understand when she's talking about me to her mother on the phone, and I can get by with some, common conversational sentences. Mandarin, I learned because we went to China, and even though there are signs everywhere after the Olympics in public places, once you go into a restaurant or try to speak with a vendor, it's a much difficult situation. And I found myself with a teacher taking 3 levels of it. But since then, I've forgotten almost all of it. Spanish, I learned because everyone thinks I'm Spanish. I'm, I'm, I'm half Italian. My dad's from Italy. My mom's from the Philippines. But my
Cool.
point is, I've tried to learn 3 different languages pretty much at the same time and found it to be a colossal failure. for me, but also I think I have difficulty even learning one language consistently at a time because I tend to be busy and I tend to put other things first. So, what advice might you have for someone who wants to learn at least another language? In addition to using those tools, how can they be disciplined?
Okay, so I completely understand that you might seem so busy and overwhelmed with so many other tasks that it can seem like it's hard to find time to be consistent with language learning. So that's why for people who are really busy and struggle to find time, I would suggest like it's okay if it's not a long time. The important thing is that it's consistent and you do it every day, even if it's just like 5 minutes.
Mm.
Okay, so maybe like every day you can take a little 5 minutes of your whole day and maybe choose 5 words and learn those 5 words and do it every day. And it's even better if those 5 words are related to a certain theme. For example, today I'm going to learn 5 colors. Tomorrow I'm going to learn 5 personal pronouns like I, you, he, she, it. The next day I'm going to learn, for example, 5 clothing items that I use to dress up in the morning to go to work, and things like that. So it's really good if they pertain to your daily life, and if they're related to a certain theme, it helps with the mnemonics, memorizing the words. Um, and it may not seem like much after one day, like only 5 words may not seem like a lot, but if you do this consistently every day after like 3, 4, 5 months, you'll be really surprised by how much you know, and you'll be able to form really simple sentences, even if those sentences aren't perfectly accurate or perfectly grammatical every time. At least you'll make them, and you can make yourself understood, and little by little you'll build up this knowledge. And really, like, you'll be so surprised, like, let's say like a year from now, you'll think back like, oh my god, just a year ago I knew zero things, and now I
Right.
can say like full sentences, like one at a time, and that person understands what I'm saying and they're replying. And then you're like, oh my god, like so much change in so little time. And that's basically how it can happen.
I think that's excellent advice, I like it because it's not just technology based. Go find an app, go find a book.
Hmm.
It's five little micro steps, micro things that you could learn. Five things, 5 minutes a day, and it goes back to something actually I read a couple months ago. I don't know who it's attributed to, but it was simple. It was, if it takes 5 minutes, just do it.
Yes.
And for me, I've just been attributing that to putting on gym clothes and walking to the gym. If it just takes 5 minutes to get dressed, to do that thing, just do it. And I didn't actually think to apply it to learning a language. And as you say, the fulfillment of looking back on how that 5 minutes a day adds up in a year, that's got to feel very good. You talked about this kind of process, but are there other personal characteristics? Like, despite my love of learning or appreciation or intention to learn a new language, I think you're an auditory person, and I'm not sure if I am. I know that when I hear a song, for example, I don't listen to the lyrics. I just listen to the tune. I
Mhm.
wonder, do you hear the words in songs? I wonder if there are other personal qualities that make it easier for certain kinds of people to learn a new language.
Um, I think that's going to depend on the the reason why people are learning a language, because there are many different reasons. Some people might be learning a language for purely practical reasons, like for example, if they have to travel and they feel like they have to learn the language if they want to be understood by people, or if they're let's say they're doing a certain online research but this website is in another language, so they kind of have no choice. So in these cases I would say maybe determination, perseverance, and also a bit of curiosity would definitely help with this task. But I think in the example you mentioned, this is more like listening to songs. This might be more for people who are learning for personal motives, like if they're really, really passionate about a certain culture, or the music of a music in a certain language. So in this case, I think it might sound a bit surprising, but I would say uh, empathy, humility,
Mm.
open-mindedness, and such qualities. Uh, Open-mindedness because when you immerse yourself in a new language, it's not just a matter of words and phrases. It's also a big deal of it is a matter of learning about a whole new culture, a whole new way of thinking about the world and seeing the world. And you have to be open-minded enough to like be open to uh, having completely different grammatical structures and cultural concepts that you'll be communicating with and thinking in. um, and also I say humility because it's going to be a pretty tough journey, and some people might be a little bit perfectionistic, and they want it to be such a perfect journey without any rocky or bumpy rides. But learning a language is going to be full of places where sometimes you'll fall down, you'll make mistakes. Uh, Even if you know a certain rule, sometimes you'll say a sentence that like maybe wasn't understood or had a certain mistake in it, but you still knew the rule. uh,
Right.
and some things like that you have to be humble enough to accept that it's going to be hard and you're going to make mistakes. There are going to be rocky paths, um, but these are a completely normal and I would say even essential part of the process of learning a new language.
Right. I
Yeah,
like that. And I heard, I've heard a few other, when I was trying to learn a new language,
yeah,
I heard a few other sort of coaches refer to it as the goal should be to communicate, to be communicative, not to speak the language in that insofar as understanding all the grammar structures, the conjugation, which really requires study, deep study to get that right, especially some of the more complex languages.
hmm,
When you're starting out, the goal should be to communicate. And I
yeah.
think maybe for someone like me, I'm a bit too much of a detailed person. I can't release myself from trying less. Uh, from not focusing too much on the details. And so that's great advice. You talked about exposing yourself to new cultures or getting exposed to new cultures through learning a new language. Can you talk a bit more about that in terms of the benefits that you get? It's not just You're not just learning a new language, are you? You're getting
Oh,
so much more.
oh, absolutely. It's really crazy. Uh, because yeah, like as I said, so languages are like the window and the tools that each different people in the world uses to express their daily lives, their emotions, their perspectives on the world. Like literally everything that they do, from the simple mundane tasks to the really philosophical, deep and abstract things. It's really really huge, a big part of our lives. So yeah, like when you learn other languages, it's like you wire your brain not only to think in different grammatical structures. Like some languages may put words in a completely different order, or they may pronounce things with completely different sounds or view sounds differently.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that aspect, but there's also the aspect of um, like how different languages talk about some cultural concepts. Like I know, for example, in Mandarin Chinese, there's a word that it's xiaoshun, but xiaoshun is a word that refers to the concept of filial piety. So like how people have to, like the sense of duty and loyalty that people feel towards their parents, which is a very very important thing in Chinese culture. And the fact that they have a really short word for it shows that for them it's really important, whereas for us we would have to construct a whole sentence about it, or like say it in a different way that is not necessarily a cultural trademark. So it really shows you, like it shows like the whole past and the whole history and even the present and future prospects of those people. And so when you can put all of that in your brain, it's like you get different souls, you get different
Mm.
it's like you get different lives basically. And a lot of times you can't even imagine how different it can get until you start learning. For example, if I ask you right now, can you uh, can you think of a color that doesn't exist or you've never seen and describe it to me? Can you?
I cannot.
Exactly. So like that's what I mean. So like same thing with languages. Like you cannot even imagine how different a language or a culture can be until you get there.
Mm.
When you haven't been there, you can't even conceive it. So that's what I'm saying. Just like
Oh
colors.
man, that's exciting. You're describing just jumping into a new portal, a new universe. And
Basically, yeah.
yeah, and thanks to technology now, and by that I mean internet technology, you can learn so much more. Go into thanks to just even YouTube alone, cuisine, music, television, films, these one-on-one conversations that through different websites and meeting other people, and of course learning about their experiences. What a time to be living in terms of the ability to learn a new language, become closer to your fellow human being, and be a more well-rounded person, George.
Yes.
Yet, why then are so many younger people, and older for that matter, still spending 85% of their time or more on that device, that phone, uh, consuming entertainment media, social media, instead of advancing their skills and learning a new language? What do you think? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because as someone who teaches young people, I always say you should be learning a new language. It's 2020, but I get the pull to spending
Yeah.
time doing something that's a little more passive than more active. What advice would you have for a young person who right now thinks a better use of their time is binge watching a television show or spending a lot of time playing video games?
So I just want to say that I really, really, really want to emphasize here that learning new languages can be fun, can sometimes be passive as well, and actually, you have to make it fun for yourself. So whatever you like doing, find a way to incorporate it with your daily life and with language learning. So yeah, I mean, I myself have watched a lot of. I personally am a big Disney fan. So
Mm.
when I started learning languages, even as a young kid, I would sometimes rewatch Disney movies that I had already watched, but in another language, because since I already knew the story from before, all I
Ah.
had to do was try to notice where the words were and try to learn from that. So that's a really good way to learn. Uh, when you can make it fun through movies and listening to songs, it's really cool. No, it's really nice. Like, of course, there will have to be a little bit of sometimes you might have to sit and try to figure out how the grammar in the song or the pronunciation in the song, but the fact that it's in a song and not on a white piece of paper is going to make it a lot more fun. Or if young people like to use social media, you can change your social media settings to another language. Like I do this regularly. I change my Facebook to another language just for the fun of feeling like I'm in an environment where I can use this language.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's so much better because again, like even some languages that are not widely known by the wider public or by the world, like indigenous languages, a lot of them are. There are some aspiring indigenous artists who are making rap and other music genres in their indigenous language,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times what has prompted me to learn a new language was uh, one of those cultural productions that were really attractive to me. And so I think if young people can find a way to incorporate whatever interests they have into a language learning that they do in their daily lives, it'll make it so much more fun and so much more relevant. Because I know that sometimes in terms of relevance, languages can sometimes you can wonder like, but how am I ever going to use that language? Like it's useless because I speak this language, which is more widely spoken, and you may not see the point. But I think the fact that young people are consuming so much media and going on social media, TV, and binge watching Netflix, it's because for them they see a relevance with it because it's a big part of their daily lives and what they're exposed to. So
Mm.
if they can incorporate languages into that, then I think there will be that feeling of languages can be fun too, and I think they'll internalize it more.
That's great advice. You are a natural, you're a natural teacher, George.
Thank you.
And I, I think I'm gonna watch Dumb and Dumber in Spanish, Mandarin, and Russian. That's one movie I have memorized from my childhood. But really, that's interesting. It's great advice to turn that piece of entertainment media that you're so uh, attached to, and see if you can integrate language learning into it. Let me end by thanking you very much, George, and saying to everyone, thank you for watching or listening to this episode. Wishing you a productive week. And remember, take just 5 minutes each day. Learn 5 new words in a language that you're curious about.
I
Who knows
approve.
what'll happen 1 year from now?
Exactly. I 110% approve. Yeah,
George, thank you very much. You're a stand-up guy, and let's talk again in the future.
I'd be very happy. Thank you for having me.